If you work for yourself, whether you're a freelancer or a small business owner, you know that being your own boss is amazing. But let's be real, when it comes to saving for retirement, it can feel a little intimidating, right? There's no HR department handling it for you. It's all on your shoulders.
And that's a really serious question to ask yourself, because so many self-employed folks in America just don't have access to those big-time workplace plans like a 401k. You might be putting money away in a traditional IRA, which is great, but is it really going to be enough? This gap, well, that's the problem we're going to solve today.
Okay, just look at this, because this slide really tells the whole story. For 2025, a traditional IRA lets you put in $7,000. Now look over at the SEP IRA. We're talking up to $70,000. That is literally a tenfold difference. I mean, can you imagine the compounding power of that extra cash over 10, 20 years? This isn't just a small bump. It's a total game changer for your savings potential.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We've talked about that retirement gap. Next up, we'll get into what a SEP IRA actually is. We'll look at those amazing contribution rules. I'll show you where you can open one. And then we'll wrap up with some really important pitfalls you need to avoid. And this is straight from the IRS.
All right, let's get into the solution, the SEP IRA. That first letter, S, stands for simplified. And believe me, that word simplified is the magic ingredient here. So, a SEP IRA is tailor-made for people like us, the self-employed and small business owners. It basically gives you all the good stuff from a 401k, the tax advantages, the super high contribution limits, but it cuts out all the complicated, expensive administrative headaches. It's really the best of both worlds. Now, let's get into how this thing actually works. First off, contributions are technically made by the employer, but since you're self-employed, guess what? You're the employer and the employee, so you contribute for yourself. And those contributions, they're tax-deductible for your business, which is a fantastic perk. It's also incredibly flexible. If you have a tough year, you can contribute nothing, no penalty. But here's the crucial rule. If you do contribute, it has to be the same percentage of pay for everyone, including yourself and any employees. And the money is yours right away, 100% vested from day one. Oh, and one last thing to remember. Unlike a 401k, there are no extra catch-up contributions if you're over 50. The big limit is the only limit.
All right, let's get to the main event. This is the reason the SEP IRA is such a powerhouse for so many people. The contribution rules. This is where you see the real magic happen. And boom, here it is. For 2025, the max you, as the employer, can put in is either $70,000 or 25% of your compensation, whichever is less. Just let that number sink in for a second. $70,000. This is how you put your retirement savings into overdrive.
So how do you figure out that whole 25% of compensation thing? Okay, I know, this looks a little scary, but I promise it's just a simple formula. You just start with your net business profits. Then you subtract half of what you paid in self-employment tax. That gives you your adjusted net profits, and you just multiply that by the contribution percentage you want to use. You just have to follow the steps.
Okay, so maybe you're sold. The contribution limits are amazing, the flexibility is perfect. So what's the next step? Well, you gotta figure out where to actually open one of these things. The good news is you've got tons of great options, and the right one for you really just depends on your style. If you're all about low costs, someone like Charles Schwab is awesome. No opening or maintenance fees. If you're a research nerd and want great customer service, you can't go wrong with Fidelity. Big fan of mutual funds, Interactive Brokers has a crazy huge selection. And hey, if you just want to set it and forget it, a robo-advisor like Wealthfront or Betterment will manage the whole portfolio for you. Now, for a really, really important part, a SEP IRA is a seriously powerful tool, but you've got to use it correctly. To keep your plan healthy and happy, you have to avoid a few common mistakes that can get you into trouble. So let's talk about what the IRS says you need to watch out for. Okay, the number one mistake people make, and it's a big one, is forgetting to include all of their eligible employees. And the rules here are super specific. An employee qualifies if they're at least 21, they've worked for you in any 3 of the last 5 years, and they made at least $750 in the year. And yes, that can totally include part-time or seasonal help you hired a few years back. You absolutely have to get this right. Pitfall number 2 is using the wrong definition of compensation when you're doing your math. Your official plan document, not your W-2, your plan document, is what spells out exactly what counts as compensation and whether that includes things like tips or bonuses. You have to follow that definition perfectly for everyone. And the third big one is simply contributing more than the annual limit allows. I know, it sounds basic, but mistakes happen. If you do accidentally put in too much, you can't just ignore it. The IRS actually has an official program you have to use to fix these kinds of errors. You have to go through their process to make it right.
And this shows you exactly why you want to get ahead of any mistakes. If you find and fix an error yourself, it can cost you nothing, zero. If you have to go to the IRS and tell them about it, there's a small fee. But if the IRS finds the mistake during an audit, well, that question mark represents a penalty that you really do not want to find out.
So let's wrap this all up. What do you really need to remember? First, the SEP IRA is your ticket to making massive tax-deductible contributions to your retirement. Second, it's super flexible, so you can skip a year if you need to. Third, and this is a big one, you have to follow those strict rules about who's eligible and what counts as pay. And finally, pick a provider that works for you, and always be proactive about avoiding those IRS pitfalls.
Which brings us to this last thought. For the millions of us out there building our own thing, the standard retirement playbook just doesn't always work. But now you know the power and the responsibilities that come with a SEP IRA. So the real question is, could this be the key that finally unlocks the secure retirement you've been working so hard for?